Hello, welcome to another episode of Manga Monday. I am Jason Hahn, and today we are talking about Dragon Ball Super, Chapter 87. The universe's strongest appears. Finally. Oh, geez, we've been waiting. But my name is Jason Hahn. As I said before, I'm a writer for ScreenRant.com. I happen to write a lot of video game related stuff, but I'm a huge manga fan, so we decided to start the Manga Mondays podcast. And we're pretty excited to talk about new chapters of Dragon Ball Super most of the time. And I could definitely rant. I could definitely rant and rave about this chapter myself for probably a few minutes, but it'd be a lot more fun with my Screen Rant buddies I got with me today. We got a good crowd today, so we'll go ahead and let them introduce themselves. Steven, you want to start out, man?
Hey, yeah, my name's Steven, write for the comic section of Screen Rant. I'm mostly doing manga and other things like Sonic and all that good stuff. But we are here to talk about Dragon Ball Super, so let's get going.
Hell yeah. I've actually seen a couple of your guys's, this includes this entire group, but these guys write some great articles on ScreenRant.com related to Dragon Ball Super and all kinds of other manga, DC, Marvel, and stuff like that. So definitely check out their works for some very interesting theories and they notice things that a lot of people don't notice either. But Francesco, how about you, man?
Hey everyone, how are you doing? I'm Francesco. I also write for the comics section of Screen Rant as my bitter rival Steven here. We have an ongoing feud that will probably continue today and take over this podcast. But no, jokes aside, I'm really happy to be here and discuss this exciting new chapter with you guys.
Yeah, I'm excited you're here too, Francesco. So this should be a fun one.
Yeah, these guys often disagree on a lot of things. So very fun conversation. I'm looking forward to it. Spencer, how about you, man?
Hey, what's going on? I'm Spencer. Yeah, I'm a writer, Screen Rant comic section. Love digging into some Dragon Ball, and can't wait to dig into this one specifically. There's definitely some strong feelings amongst us. We talked about it a little bit before recording this podcast, so I'm excited to actually talk about it now.
Yeah, maybe we should have called it Chapter 87, The Universe's Strongest Feelings. Carlyle, how about you, man? How are you today?
Yeah, hey, I'm Carlyle Edmundson. I'm a writer at Screen Rant as well, often Dragon Ball, My Hero Academia, etc. So, this was an interesting chapter, so we'll get right to it.
Yeah, absolutely. So we finally...
For better and worse.
We definitively got the end of this arc. Even final page is just like, oh, we're taking a break next month to start on the new arc. So I don't think Gas is getting up for the 23rd time. As I said in the previous podcast, this entire arc has just been Gas getting his ass kicked the entire time. And finally, the person we've been wanting, we've had his name dropped several times, showed up, and honestly, one of the most dramatic, coolest fashions I've seen in a while. It was a great superhero pose from Frieza. Loved that panel. We got, not only did we get the return of Frieza, but we got probably the most Frieza we've seen in a long time. It's just he's snarky, he's powerful, he's back with some sass and a new form too, which I have plenty of thoughts on as well. Honestly, thought the new form was a little bit lazy in design, but hey, that could be a whole other conversation later. But yeah, Gas got up once again after taking possibly the third or fourth big attack to the face, but I really did like this like zombie Gas form. I thought it looked really cool, but that's about it. But the whole like him taking ridiculous damage, like his arm is just dangling by a couple strings, and he still like flexes and punches Goku in the face, and Vegeta makes a pretty interesting statement about it. He's just like it's like he's cursed to be the strongest warrior in the universe, which I thought was a pretty interesting dynamic. And I almost wish that would have something like that would have happened way earlier, and then we could have just seen like the deterioration of Gas the entire time. I thought that would have been pretty compelling and cool. But and then Whis shows up, saves the day, because Whis is an angel who apparently doesn't follow the rules and saved their ultimate healer's life, which suddenly can heal way better and faster than anybody has ever been able to do without sensu beans. Just stuff. But
yeah, he pulled a Dende for sure.
Yep.
well, I feel like even Dende was kind of like, oh, I've used too much energy. He didn't just suddenly like, oh, I've been healing all of you guys for a long time. I'm better at it. So I felt like that was kind of a pull.
Well, I will say though, like the really good thing and why that happened is that it actually just showed how pumped up Frieza is now. Because I mean, if Frieza came and completely obliterated Vegeta and Goku, well, everyone could be like, well, you know, they were all beaten up and stuff, and they're tired. But like, they're completely like, we're 100% now, and we're revitalized. Let's go! But then they still get their butts kicked. So it's kind of like, whoa!
One-shotted. That was nuts.
Right, like Gas too, which kind of was weird for me. Like, Frieza doesn't even power up to Black Frieza, and he punches through Gas with one punch. I think he was holding back. He didn't want to kill that much Frieza arrogance.
He raised his base power so much.
I think he does change to Black when he kills Gas, and the way that the panel is structured, you don't see it clearly because Frieza is in the shadow of Gas' body. But I think if you look carefully, you can see there's a different coloring around its body. So I think he instantly changed it, but in a way that Goku and Vegeta could not see him do it.
Oh, on the page before, you can see it more clearly because of the shots from behind Frieza, and he's got that black coloration. So yeah, he did like Goku does right now, and just did it for a second. Yeah.
Yeah, good point, man. I didn't notice that. I was too distracted by the next page of like seeing Gas deteriorate in the span of like 3 panels, which really cool, really well drawn. I don't know if I'm just blown away by the art or if I've just been so ready for Gas to disappear that I'm just happy to see that. But I did love that page of Gas deteriorating and then like his bones just like showering over Frieza. It's great to have Frieza back, but I almost want a whole arc just to focus on Frieza, honestly. Like, especially
make a manga just about Frieza.
Yeah, oh boy, that'd be great.
I want to say something really quick, just because it's kind of weird. I wasn't expecting this, but so when I first read this chapter, you know, I was completely horrified. But what's interesting though, like I even like they haven't come out yet, but like so I first wrote a full feature and there wasn't enough to, you know, enough room to like get into my full hate. And so I did that feature, and then there's like another one I wrote, like a regular thing, and I just like combined the two, and now I'm at the point where it's been a little while, and I think I'm completely okay with what happened. I just wanted to give like a weird like 180 thing, because like I was just like, I'm gonna write a feature and a regular article about how this is all wrong.
Which aspect are you referring to?
So I originally had a big problem with, you know, a lot of things about how Frieza was portrayed in this. Like, so that was what the main feature was. Like, I did like all these things about how they got Frieza wrong, and then my follow-up article was about how getting rid of Gas and Alec, like, kind of like destroys everything that we've been working up towards for this whole time, and that getting rid of them kind of ruins the chance of the series to kind of take a completely new approach to how Dragon Ball could be. So if that makes sense, like, so before I found it was really interesting, you know, the Heater Force was, you know, building up to become like a stronger force than Frieza's force, all these forces. And I thought that was just so interesting that they were kind of like going to build an army that would then just overwhelm Frieza's. And I felt like that could have been a completely different dynamic to explore. Because like before, like Frieza's army, even on Namek, like Frieza's army wasn't that big of a deal. Even then, like it was only really Zarbon and Dodoria and the Ginyu Force who were really a big deal. So I was like, oh my god, maybe we're gonna get like a focus on how like an actual army is a big deal. But then once this whole twist happened, I was like, oh, that's now gone. But now I am kind of reading this as it just shows how powerful or how much of an influence Frieza has on the universe. Because I mean, we were like seeing like the Heater Force; they were like this massive, like they were going to be like this big thing that was going to take over Frieza, and they've been planning this whole uprising for decades, and then it's just like, oh no, Frieza's here, boom, it's gone. and so like that kind of like originally I was like, oh my god, that destroys so much conflict, but then at the same time it's like that just shows how insanely awesome Frieza is. Yeah, so, I mean, I'm starting to come around a little bit.
Yeah, Frieza's definitely like the Game of Thrones character where he's just like, I've kind of known you've been doing this for a long time. I just wanted to see how far you could get, but I'm gonna go ahead and put an end to this family line real quick.
It kind of got me thinking that this arc was actually all about Frieza, if you think about it, just with the main focus being on Goku, Vegeta, and these new characters, Gas, Granola, Alec, the Heaters. But by having Frieza come in at the last moment after just fully dedicating this arc to showing how crazy powerful everyone has become, from Ultra Instinct, Ultra Ego, to Gas surpassing all of that, to Granola coming in and still being a powerhouse, even with these godly powers, to kind of put Gas, may turn him into that weird zombie that we saw, and then out of nowhere, Frieza comes in and one shots all of them. Like he doesn't really have a conflict with Granola, but it's implied, and with everyone else, he completely just obliterates them. And I think, and all like we said before, all of our theories pretty much came true. And I'm thinking that another one's going to come true in that we are gearing up for that whole multiversal war thing. I mean, there was a reason Frieza didn't just kill them. I feel like he's kind of over that. He's kind of let go a little bit. I don't know. I feel like there's not that raw hatred that we saw in Resurrection. And it's I think this next arc will finally be that multiversal war that people have been talking about for forever.
Yeah,
that's the one thing I can't get over, actually.
That he let it go.
Yeah, let it go. It's like his hatred for them is so immense. I mean, like, even though if he thinks he's so powerful, it's just so weird. Like, so when he first learns about the legendary Super Saiyan, he's like, he doesn't even wait to see what could happen. He's like, I'm just going to kill all Saiyans that I know of, so I'll have to deal with this threat. They're gone, and it's just like he's been defeated so many times by Saiyans, and he's basically like a racist, like he's saying, like he's calling them and stuff. It's like, dude, if he could right now, he would completely kill them all. I'm still a little like, I would like it, because it seems like they're building up the mystery. It's like, oh, I have something else I'm doing right now. I think like that mystery isn't as important as just telling us what it is, so that we don't feel like that they're like misrepresenting Frieza, if that makes sense. Like I feel like they should have explained it, be like, why? Yeah,
I could be wrong, but I feel like, and I could be crossing my streams because I read so many series, but I believe, wasn't there like a point where Frieza even acknowledged the whole like, I don't want to kill them because they also like their presence gives me something to like level up with.
I don't know if that's true.
I don't think he ever said that, but I mean, I will say they definitely were softer towards each other after the Tournament of Power. I mean, there wasn't like any definitive moment, but after that, even in the manga, like it was just they just weren't that there wasn't that hatred anymore, and I feel like that just came from a weird camaraderie. Even with Frieza being this evil thing, he was still scheming on the Saiyan's behalf for the protection of his entire universe. And then, take that and add it to the 10 years that he spent training in a different dimension. I guess it's off-panel growth, and I feel like we need to see more of it on panel, if that makes sense. And then even if you take into account Dragon Ball Super Broly, I mean, Frieza gets the Dragon Balls so he can be a little bit taller, and then and then he brings Broly to Earth, and he's just—it's almost like he's hanging out with old friends with Goku and Vegeta. I didn't feel that hatred.
This is how he plays.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, it's just weird too. I mean, just like putting that in perspective too. I mean, like I don't know the exact number, but I mean, he was in hell, in the hell for infinite losers or whatever for years. Like having being tortured by these singing things.
They were so happy,
and like he was there, like because a Saiyan killed him, and it wasn't even Goku, and it's just the fact that I mean, just having to endure that for that long, like you're just sitting there in your hatred, and like even then too, like if he was training for all this time, it's like he's thinking about getting powerful. Like something really profound had to have happened because, like, if he's just been training for 10 years, his mind is focused on, getting stronger. So, like, you'd think that hatred would rise, but I don't know. Like, again, it'll probably be explained later on. I hope
we need more. Yeah, we need more because you're absolutely right. And the thing I keep going back to is the tournament of power. That was for me. Yeah. The turning point. But you're absolutely right. I mean, he was in hell for years. He trained for 10 years, a full decade in another dimension, presumably to be stronger than the Saiyans.
Which we're kind of glossing over that, and I feel like it's kind of a big deal, but I doubt that they'll ever come back to it and flesh it out more. But and I'll quote here, of all the different, well, I'm not exactly quoting, I'm paraphrasing, but Frieza says, of the many worlds he has conquered, he found one that has a hyperbolic time chamber, or, as the official translation, a room of spirit and time, whatever you want to call it. He found one on his own and decided to train there inside of it for 10 years. And that's how he has unlocked... I wish we'd have a better name for it, but Black Frieza. And I kind of mentioned it a little bit earlier. Not a big fan of the design. I feel like it's kind of lazy. I really miss the whole like Frieza's body transformations, and
Golden Frieza was dumb too.
Yeah, at that point, with Golden Frieza, I was at least like, okay, you're kind of playing on the Super Saiyan thing. I kind of get it. But with this new form just also being another rehashed color swap, I'm like, come on. You guys could have come up with a cooler thing. But I understand they're just such a big fan of... Or Frieza's so popular and people love Frieza and toys that they probably didn't want to drastically change it. But...
It's funny. I actually just finished writing a little piece referencing Frieza's third form. That xenomorph-looking guy.
Yeah.
And I touch on that a little bit, just briefly. But yeah, no, I thought the same thing. It's more or less just his final form with different color scheme. But yeah, Jason, I'm sure you're right. I feel like there's a lot they want to keep that same look, for Frieza, and just kind of change up his color.
Mm-hmm. And he was hardly in that form too, the Xeno form as we're calling it. Like I think that was like the shortest of all the forms he was in. Like the only thing that I remember, he was just doing that finger thing. It was like that was basically the
extent. It looked the most cumbersome. I can't imagine.
Yeah. Speaking of which, just wanted to say that they did a great fake out with the official preview of the chapter, where they just had the sequence when Monaito heals everyone, and then there's a death beam coming from behind and killing him, but they didn't show who was shooting, right? So, everyone, including me, was like, that's Frieza's move. That's Frieza's signature move. But then in the actual chapter, it was Gus doing it, right? But then immediately after that, you actually had Frieza show up, which was amazing. And overall, I think
I like that.
Yeah, it was just really the chapter was really well done. I had the feeling when Frieza showed up. It was very interesting because we know this guy, right? We know he hasn't been the most powerful, most dangerous guy around for a while. Or we kind of actually forgot, because this is another point we'll bring up. So when he shows up and you have that, I think it's a couple of pages of just silence when he appears, and everyone is looking.
Yeah. It's
No,
like the,
even
oh crap.
yes, even people who, in theory, they are supposed to be much stronger than him. So that gave me the same feeling that I had when the final form appeared for the first time on
that's
a mech,
interesting.
which was the same effect. You see this guy becoming much smaller, but the design was so eerie and so scary that it just gave you the chills, and then that's the same effect. And then just if you keep reading this chapter, it builds up from that. You have these 2 pages of silence, and then he starts doing things like killing the guy who's supposed to be the strongest in the universe, and then he takes out Goku and Vegeta with one punch. So it was just perfect. And the explanation also, I think, makes perfect sense, because we all forgot that Golden Frieza was the result of 4 months of training. He trained for 4 months, and he was stronger than
for the first time in his life.
For the first time in his life, and he was stronger than Goku and Vegeta in their Super Saiyan Blue, whatever form. It took them years and years of training to get that. He trained for 4 months and was stronger than them. And if you remember, Whis had to reverse time because they actually lost that fight. And so obviously, if he trained for more than that, his rate of growth is much higher. So 10 years absolutely makes sense for him to be on that level. It's just very, very nicely done to me. I really enjoyed it. And yeah, again, as you said, it's a classic villain. Everybody loves him, and that's the respect that he deserves.
Yeah, I agree. And I think that it's definitely brought Frieza back up to the place that we've kind of always wanted him, especially after Resurrection F. We're just like, okay, you brought Frieza back. Well, why? Especially when they're going to wipe him out. And then Tournament of Power happened, and you're like, oh, okay, so that makes sense. But I'm hoping that they have a plan for what's happening afterwards, because there's times where I feel like they're just going by the seam of their pants, and they're like, wouldn't this be cool? Because it almost or it's exactly what you're saying earlier, or I think it was Spencer that said it, where at this point, this chapter really proved how good Frieza is, or how powerful he is. So it's almost like, was this entire arc built just to like make for this moment for Frieza? And if that's the case, then I almost feel like we could have done this in half the amount of time that this arc took. I just felt like if Frieza had shown up way earlier and he actually stayed and he was just like, I'm way more powerful now. Now you guys have to deal with me. I think this whole arc would have been a lot more compelling, because we have all these characters that have just been wiped off the board. There's so many things where we're like, oh, wow, this could have been cool. Especially with the Bardock stuff. But time will tell if the Bardock stuff eventually pays off. We'll see what Goku does with that information. But yeah, I almost wonder if Frieza is, he's like, I'm going to take over everything and save the Saiyans for last. But it also kind of goes into what Goku taught him at the end of Resurrection F. He's just like, oh, I'm guessing as soon as you attain this form, you came right here to fight us, and you didn't learn that the ins and outs of this form, and that's why you're losing today. And so Frieza's like, all right, well, I'll go train for 10 freaking years then, and I'll come back. But Carlyle, what were your thoughts on this chapter, man?
Yeah, there's a trope that is used in writing sometimes, and on TV tropes they call it the Worf effect after Star Trek TNG. It's where you put a character that you establish to be very strong up front so that the new villain can wipe them out immediately to show how strong they are. And it definitely feels like that's what we did with Gas here. he's the strongest in the universe, and then Frieza comes and wipes out one shot and go, oh my god, how strong is Frieza now? So that's definitely what we did here. This chapter, it has some interesting things in it, and it has some things that are not very well done. I think we did some things that they're a little bit quick resolution, like bringing Midnighto back, and even to a certain extent, even Frieza's arrival. He's just here now. He could have been here last chapter or the chapter before, but it's this one. You know,
he's just been staring and watching the planet. It was like, when would be a good time? Maybe now.
Yep.
No, I'll wait. Maybe.
Honestly, that might be a character. But...
It's like, that guy's a zombie now. Okay, let's wrap this up.
Super cool if I show up right now. Nope. I'm gonna wait.
He was actually just looking for cooks for his ship, guys. That's what he was there for.
That was it. That was the only reason he came down.
He had a shortage of manpower, and so
got to
he was
replace
looking around.
Eli and the other one.
Yeah, and he remembered about his old friends, the Heaters, so he just let's pay them a visit.
Oh, I didn't even catch that. I guess that was a little reference to Broly, wasn't it?
Yeah,
I think so.
But it's
wait, what was the what was the reference to Broly? I missed that.
It's like I need a cook and a waitress, and it was the two people. What were their names? I can't remember.
It's Chilai and other dude.
Yeah, they helped Broly.
Yeah, they're also in the new movie, but I won't talk about that. We'll be doing a new podcast for the new Dragon Ball Super movie or superhero movie at another time this week. But look forward to that, Mega Manga Monday listeners. But Francesco, do you have something?
Yeah, I just remembered something you mentioned earlier about Vegeta's comment that Gus is cursed to be the universe's strongest. Mm-hmm. And I find it really, really interesting, and I actually wrote about it. If you see it as a metaphor of the whole Dragon Ball basic, story that the main characters are constantly fighting against stronger opponents, they have to train, and they have to fight again, and they have to get hurt, and sometimes they die, and so on and so on. And then that's what happens to Gus. He's cursed to be the strongest, and because he's the strongest, he's burning out his own life. He keeps fighting even while his body's literally falling apart. I'm not sure that was intended to be like a metaphor for your general, battle shonen stereotypes, but it works that way. If you think about it, that's what Goku and Vegeta are doing all the time. They don't have normal lives because they are constantly, and the stronger they get, the stronger the opponents they have to face. So it's a never-ending cycle, just like a curse.
Yeah, and they have to keep going because of Dragon Ball's popularity. That kind of reminds me of that kind of reminds me of Deadpool kills the Marvel Universe when he's killing Wolverine. He's like, your main superpower isn't your healing factor because of mutation. Your main superpower is your popularity. You can be reduced to a drop of blood and come back, and that's why. So yeah, that is a good point, Francesco.
Yeah, absolutely, and it kind of it kind of really just shows like they could just keep going with this. I mean, I actually just finished. I've been watching Dragon Ball, the original anime. I hate to say it for the first time. I mean, I definitely know everything that happens, and I've seen most of it. But I just finished Goku versus King Piccolo. And
nice.
Just how like desperate everything felt at that point. Like King Piccolo's got Tien by the head, and he's squeezing his head, and he's like blowing boulders and crippling Goku's legs, and he gets him down to just one limb. And it just at that point, like you're just like, how is he going to get out of this? Like I know how he gets out of it because it's one of the most iconic moves ever. When Goku dragon punches through Piccolo, just like he did with Super Android 17 and GT.
Right.
But and it's just like I wish that Super would feel that I especially with the manga, I haven't felt like the manga has made you feel that desperate in a long time, especially in this arc. Like, and it's kind of something I brought up in previous discussions too. Just with Gas being the main villain of this arc, he just was never really that scary because every time we showed a flashback or we showed him fighting somebody, he got beat, but then he would just come back and be like, "Oh, I'm not beat yet," and you're like, "I'm not really afraid of you. You just keep getting back up, but everyone keeps on overpowering you," and it kind of goes back into my whole thing about this. Like, if Frieza had shown up, half the saga or half this arc ago, and we would have spent more time, struggling against this character we know, especially when he's more powerful, and it could have like led into other things. I felt like this arc could have been a lot more better. I just didn't really feel compelled by the villains and stuff like that. I just didn't feel the tension. And watching an old episode of Dragon Ball reminded me of that.
Yeah, and that kind of got me thinking. Like, I'm currently reading the saga. It's part of the Saiyan saga, I guess, Frieza saga now, where they're on planet Namek. And I have to say, Vegeta is one of the scariest villains ever in that story arc. He is absolutely terrifying. Because like we have Krillin and Gohan, and Bulma's hiding, but like Krillin and Gohan are going around, and Vegeta can just sense their ki. He's like a Michael Myers all on that planet, and it is terrifying. I have to yes, it is like, wow, this is Vegeta. Like, this is he becomes this hero, and obviously we all know that he originated as a villain, but that it really blew me away, like the writing, the art, and everything. Like, talking about that tension. Because I mean, Goku's like on his way. He's training. He's gonna get there in the 6 days, and Gohan and Krillin are completely alone, pinned between Vegeta and the Frieza Force. And their main threat really is Vegeta, because he knows them. He just fought them. He hates them. Krillin almost killed him with a sword a couple chapters earlier, and he is just absolutely terrifying. So yeah, I definitely feel what you're saying with Gas just not quite having it. And I think that's kind of on us too, just because I mean, we're seeing these guys and they're wielding this power that's just unbelievable. It's like it's almost like in the back of our minds, we're just kind of like, well, I mean, all Goku has to do is like really perfect Ultra Instinct, like Vegeta just tapped into Ultra Ego. All he needs to do is really get into it, and then we'll be good to go. But back then, it seemed like, when the power levels were just a little bit smaller, lesser, it kind of just elevated the pressure. Because back then you're talking about like 500,000, the power levels at 500,000 Frieza roughly, and that was God. That was like, no way, unbelievable. Yeah.
Oh yeah, because we were literally like a little bit after it's over 9,000, and that was a huge deal. And then they established, all right, well, Frieza's got a 500,000.
Yeah, it's like the unreal.
And I almost feel like, especially with Super, when they started introducing like God Ki and all that stuff, it's just completely like been thrown out the window now. Like, I mean, you have characters like Broly and now Frieza who are able to compete against. I mean, not to keep bringing up Dragon Ball Super Broly, the movie, and how amazing it was, but
amazing,
just the fact that like Broly was standing up to like red form Goku and stuff before he even went Super Saiyan. Like, it just kind of really diminishes the whole like God Ki and destruction Ki and stuff like that. And it's kind of even feeling more of my disappointment towards Ultra Ego, because that's always been Vegeta's thing, is getting beat up a lot and then coming back and doing some sort of big attack that sometimes helps, sometimes doesn't, and that's exactly what his form still is. So I exactly what kind of Vegeta says at the end of this. He's like, I need to hone my technique more and master it better. So hopefully when we see Ultra Ego again, he'll figure out some other trait about it that will make it more interesting for me, because I really like the look of it. It just doesn't feel like special enough. It doesn't really give him a special ability that I'd really like to see. I almost think he's more interesting playing around with yard rat techniques. With the Moro arc, him doing like spirit fusion and stuff like that, or fission.
Fission.
That was cool.
It was super cool, and him doing a spirit, like, especially with this arc done, I can confidently say I definitely like the Moro arc a lot more than this one. I felt like it teased a lot more stuff, and I kind of wish that they would just build more on that, the abilities and stuff that we saw in that, rather than them almost resetting that and being like, okay, well, what if he's got a new form that doesn't use spirit fission or any of the things he just learned?
I don't know. I can't. Like, I see what you guys are saying about this current arc, but after the whole Bardock thing came in, like it's now like one of my favorite things, just because it was like a dream since I was a kid that Bardock would appear in the actual story. So it's like that in and of itself is like, this is the greatest thing that has ever happened in a long time. Yeah.
Well,
I think one of the things that maybe are most worrying. I mean, I worry most about is that everything seems to be about the appeal of Dragon Ball Super seems to be about getting these old characters that did not get the spotlight in the original series, or they were either coming from the movies, like Bardock and Broly or whatever, and then and then make them relevant again. So it seems to be that's the reason why we are enjoying Dragon Ball Super so much. Oh, Frieza is back and he's the strongest. Oh, and that's Goku's dad, the one that we saw in that movie. Oh, and Bardock too. So
nostalgia.
That's awesome, but it's also it's all nostalgia. And while it's awesome, it also means that you're not building anything new. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So in the long run, this may not be sustainable.
Well, that's why. Yeah, no, I completely agree. Because I remember when, I think I've mentioned it before, but when that Broly movie came out, I was so excited because that's what I thought Dragon Ball Super was going to be like. Because that was basically how I envisioned, like after Dragon Ball Z ended and then we had GT. I was like, oh man, it would be so cool if they brought Dragon Ball back and it was actually written really well. I was like, it would be so cool. And then the Broly movie came out, and I was like, this is it. This is what it could be. And then it happens, and I was like, oh, okay, we're doing the same thing again. But yeah, I mean, it's one of those things where I'm riding the nostalgia train. That's what it's really been for me this whole time.
And I kind of mentioned it earlier too. This arc could be improved if things that they planted in it flourish in the future. Like if they bring back the Bardock thing and Goku uses it to either like level up or have some sort of character development. I think a couple podcasts ago we were like, what if he decides to go to hell in search of Raditz to learn more about his Saiyan heritage and his father? And like, that's all very compelling and very interesting, and we would love to see that, but that's not necessarily what the popularity of Dragon Ball Super is leaning towards, because there's like, well, what if everyone gets a new power up and instead of Golden Frieza, he's Black Frieza now? Everyone will eat this up. And we're like, we want more substantial stuff. And that's kind of what I think.
Super Saiyan Rose.
Yeah.
Oh my god! Like, what the hell is this?
Yeah, let's not explain it. Yeah, let's explain it with even the villains just like, I don't know. I don't understand where this power is coming from.
And I think that was one of the best arcs, I think, in Dragon Ball Super, because it was all new. It was all new, right? Like, besides the whole future Trunks stuff, which it's going back to the original story, but not to a popular character, but just to some parts that you did not actually explore back then. Oh, this guy comes from a future alternate timeline where the world is a horrible place, that's an interesting story that no one actually got
Yeah.
to see much of. So and even the whole Kaio stuff, these godlike beings and whatever. I think it was super interesting. I really, really enjoyed that.
I agree.
Yeah.
And the reason
Future
that,
Trunks saga is great.
yeah, I loved it, and we can all say, except for the very end of it, I'd say 90% of that arc was fantastic because it happened because things had happened in the past. Like, we got to have all the future Trunks stuff because it was all established, and it was all kind of the sequel of that, I felt like. And that's kind of what I'm waiting for now with Dragon Ball Super. I feel like, especially, we have enough new characters and enough cool stuff that's happened after Tournament of Power where, and I almost hate to say if it's like Marvel has, influenced so many things now, especially with the MCU. I want it all to come together into like, not for the lack of a better term, like like an Avengers event sort of thing. Like, I want Broly to come back. I want Granola to come back. I want them all to like have some sort of huge threat to fight against. And that's that. We've wanted the multiversal war ever since they established that there's multiverses, and Goku's just like, oh boy, I bet there's some strong people I'd love to fight in those other universes.
Yeah.
And we're like, yes, we would like that. And that was years ago. That was so long ago. That was so many arcs ago, and it just hasn't paid off yet. And especially with Frieza now saying like, oh, I've been in another dimension and taking over worlds, and I would love it if after this we follow Frieza and he's just like, I'm going to go spank Jiren now because he made me mad.
Spank Jiren?
And then Jiren comes back. He's like, oh, I got spanked so hard, guys. I need your help.
What?
That'd be an interesting thing to have happen.
By spank, I mean not literally spank, but just humiliate him. Go back and like destroy the justice justice patrollers, pride troopers. Thank you. Yeah, I would love it if Frieza's just like, I'm more powerful now, so I'm gonna go humiliate everybody who's embarrassed me over the past couple of years. And
yeah, I don't know. I think literally spanking Jiren is kind of more up Frieza's alley if you really think about it.
All right, that's the
You
theory.
embarrass me in front of everyone.
Yeah, now let me embarrass you. Spank.
Right.
It's interesting because when I read that line about him being in another dimension, I thought that was just how he was referring to being in like the time chamber room. But yeah, it's totally possible that he was already off like fighting in some kind of war or something, and he just found that while he was out there.
Yeah.
My mind immediately went to Xeno. Like Xeno was Super Dragon Ball Hero, like Xeno Goku, Xeno. But and I like it's. I was reading that it's nuts. I know a lot of you guys have too. It's crazy. I would not mind a crazy crossover like that.
Done a manga
honestly,
for it? Because I know that they have Dragon Ball Super Heroes mission. Is that what the like off-brand, the Kmart brand anime? Is that what that one's called? I forget. I've only watched a couple episodes, and it's like a fever dream.
Yeah, it's pretty wild. Yeah, there is a manga. It's there's a couple of different ones, but I mean, it originates, with the Time Patrol, and it all starts with again Trunks. He gets plucked out of the time stream because of his crimes against time, but it turns out there's another being, a demonic being, who's doing even worse things. So Trunks, and the chief of Time Patrol, I can't remember her name, but they kind of collect fighters from across different time streams. And two of them are, Xeno Vegeta, Xeno Goku, and those are the ones not from the GT universe. They do travel there, but those are ones who can become Super Saiyan 4. And then eventually that goes into a storyline where the Super Saiyan 4 interact with Super Saiyan Blue, Goku and Vegeta. And it's just wild. And it's when Frieza said, I was in an alternate dimension, that where time and space is just different. I'm paraphrasing obviously, but that just immediately got me thinking of Trunks exiting the time stream, becoming a part of the Time Patrol, and then these guys because it's not canon, but if we want to believe it is, they are in the background of all of these stories just outside of time, going in and out. I mean, they're basically like Loki, time variance authority. So it's if they do that, I don't think they're going to, but that's immediately where my mind went, and that would be just nuts.
Oh yeah, especially if they brought that stuff up, and then people are like, "Now I've got to go watch this fever dream of an anime to know what's going on." And
like, great.
Oh boy, and that's kind of the thing is like you think about you talk about all the things that happen in this other series that's not canon and stuff, and it all sounds cool, but then you watch it and you're like, my brain, why is this happening so? It's so frantic, and there's just none of the tension and stuff that a lot of people complain that the normal series has, and they're like, oh, I just want the fights, and that series gives you the fights, and you're like, I don't like this. Why don't I like this?
Yeah. Well, that's why Broly, again, that we keep going back to this. I don't know why, but Dragon Ball Super Broly, the movie, is so great because the first part of it is so story driven. And we have Bardock and Vegeta and Frieza, and then it just builds and builds and builds. Obviously Broly's origin, but then once it gets to the fighting, it's nuts, and that's the perfect mixture that I think we're all just kind of longing for. And especially when we talk about the newer chapters, when one chapter is too much of one, not enough of the other, or whatever, or even the whole saga is something, it's more towards that than the other. It's just a little bit frustrating, especially when we know what we can have. So who knows? We'll see. Hopefully the next story, whatever it ends up being, is that perfect mixture again.
Well, I will say one thing though, to complement this whole arc, is that this type of storyline is one that I've been waiting for actually since GT. Like, I know a lot of people hate it, but one of my favorite moments in that was the Baby Saga.
Yes.
Just because it's, bringing back, that history. It's connecting, like, the present day to when the Saiyans were going out and working on behalf of Frieza and destroying planets. Like, that was a really awesome thing. And, I mean, and like, I brought it up in other podcast, but like there was like a step, like with Super, it took a step beyond Baby, because I forgot the name of his of the race or everything, but he basically, the Tuffles era, like he wasn't actually one of them, like he was just, he had the mind or the will of one of them, so it's like he was a part of that history, but he wasn't, he was kind of removed. And with Granola, we kind of got it where he's not removed. Like he actually experienced, the Saiyans going after them and everything. And so yeah, I mean, I loved that. And
what was so cool about the Baby thing was like he was genetically engineered to like be revenge against the Saiyans, because whoever made him, the Tuffle scientist or whatever, like very similar to Granola, where their world was ravaged by Saiyans, giant monkeys destroying their civilization. And that's what was so cool about the Broly, or no, not Broly, the Baby character arc, was he started off, trying to get revenge against the Saiyans, and before he knew it, he became a Saiyan and became a giant rampaging monkey that was destroying civilization. And it's just that. And I feel like they've nailed that with so many of the super villains, especially with Zamasu, and the Goku Black arc, that I'm kind of glad that we didn't get that with Granola here, because it was almost setting up a very similar character arc. But I'm really curious to see where they go with his character arc from here, because they've still established that he only has a couple of years left. And that's also where they kind of brought up my theory that turned out to be correct, that the heater... the main heater guy like wished for Gas to have even less life left so he could be even stronger. And I was almost hoping we were going to get like a Frankenstein kind of moment there where he realizes that he's just like, what? I'm dying? And he looks into the water, and you see a second where he's like about to reflect on himself, and then Frieza shows up and changes the whole dynamic.
That was actually one of the things that I wrote about, like that I was upset about Frieza showing up, was because like it's been building up to that moment. Because I mean, we never, and I really liked it about it in earlier chapters, like how Toriyama wrote it. It's like we never actually see Alec making the wish, and we don't see Gas the moment he gets his powers. So it's always in the back of your mind. It's like, does Gas actually know what happened? like that he's going to lose life? And then we finally, it's been building that way for months. And then the moment he finds out, it's like, oh man, we've been building this tension. Like, when is this going to happen? And then Frieza comes and kills everybody. Like, that was like, I felt like that was like one of the big reveals I've been waiting for. And when it came, they just kind of just swiped it under the rug.
Yeah, my initial reaction to all that was that this was just such a wildly cruel wish. There was no way that Gas knew about it, and it was nice to see that was the case.
There is one.
It definitely made it satisfying for him to just, wipe the floor with Alec immediately. Like, yeah, that's what you get. You can't treat your family good.
Yeah, Frieza's like, I know who the weakest one is, and it's you.
One problem, though, with the whole thing, though, because I remember when I wrote about it a few months ago, there was, like, one problem with that whole theory, is because when Granola first goes and meets the Heaters after making his wish, he tells them everything, and Gas is there. Like, he tells them, oh, yeah, I did a wish to the Dragon Balls, and now I'm the strongest in the universe, but I lost a lot of my life, and I only have a few years to live. And Gas was there and heard it. So it was like, that was like the only problem. It's like, oh, I guess he just conveniently forgot. I thought that was kind of bad writing, or they just forgot about it.
Well, that, or he assumed he had 3 years left.
Yeah, I don't know. But yeah, it was just, I don't know.
Yeah, and that was one of the things that got me thinking that Gas just the entire time. I mean, I've been saying this past couple sessions here, but it just seems like he's just been taken advantage of by Alec the entire time. I mean, at first he seemed like this kind of repressed Broly-esque character, like almost more akin to Broly in the original movie, where he was even more kind of zombied out. Because even in the new movie, he has a bit more personality when he's in his base form. But this guy, he's kind of just quiet in the background, and you're waiting for him to like kind of get into his character and everything, but you never really do. And then just the whole time he's just getting taken advantage of, like, and then at the very end, and I'll agree with you guys too, when he finally says, "What? My life force is being drained because of the wish." That was really the first time he's ever spoken up for himself.
Yeah, it's the first time we have any Gas personality, and it literally lasts like half of a page, and then it just gets swept away or punched away.
Yeah. In the craziest, most brutal way. Like, this guy, his existence in Dragon Ball just sucks. Poor Gas, man. I'm Team Gas. I was like, man, this poor guy the whole time.
And to kind of go into Steven's frustration about it too, like I remember in our past discussion, and he even wrote a really good article about it, just like if Gas survived this whole conflict, it was potentially setting up like a new villain dynamic where this pawn who's been taken advantage of over and over and over again, if he survived and kind of had his own, say if Alec died and Frieza didn't just show up, and then Gas decided to go hunt for Frieza on his own, that would have been, I think, a little bit more interesting than what happened here. But instead of like using Gas and accentuating his character and building more on the character that we've been wanting him to have, he was just used as a tool to, make Frieza seem that much more powerful. So
yeah,
I'm hoping.
And it seems like that was always the case. Yeah, exactly.
I think another problem of it too is just we're only getting 12 chapters a year. So that's really, I think, a detriment to this. I almost wonder if, now that the whole arc's done, it might be more enjoyable if we, read it, if we were able to binge it rather than waiting a month for every new chapter. It might be a different dynamic, but I'm not sure. Yeah. But
I think you're right there for sure. I mean, I'm binging the earlier chapters of Dragon Ball, and I'm getting through like 20-30 in a day. Like, it's super. You just go, go, go. I mean, you just don't want to stop. And like, yeah, so yeah, waiting waiting a month in between these chapters has been rough. So yeah, definitely warrants a reread for sure.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think we've set up ideas that we want to see happen next. We want it to all come together into some multiversal Secret Wars kind of stuff. And yeah, I guess, do you guys have any other ideas on where you want it to go next? I mean, as we said, we would love to focus on Frieza for a little bit, kind of get more on what he's into. We would love it if Broly became a part of it. Anxious to see. I almost, they say, you know what, we need to hide the Dragon Balls on this planet so no one can use it again. Just like, it'd be very easy for any other power to come by and take these Dragon Balls now. So I wonder if, we haven't seen the last of Granola and those sets of Dragon Balls, because I know this is kind of almost doing the same thing that like Dragon Ball did, where Piccolo just like makes a wish on the Dragon Balls to be more powerful, and King Piccolo.
Spoiler.
King Piccolo did that in Dragon Ball. So, and that's kind of exactly what this story was here. And it just took, I have to go back and see how many chapters this arc was, but it just took so many chapters to get us to the point of saying, hey, Frieza's strong again. And I just feel like we could have done so much more with it, but I just, as I said, I need them to have everything. If they planted seeds throughout this arc, I need them to flourish and become worth it. And then this arc might be better, after the next arc happens, especially if we, get more sense of the Bardock thing, because I just felt like as cool as it was, it didn't really feel like it benefited the story a whole lot. Other than Bardock wishing that his sons would thrive.
No, that was amazing.
And
That should be
50%.
That should be explained.
Yes. Yeah, we need more
Like,
of that.
why?
Like, we need more Sasano. That explanation, man. I'm still mad at you for bringing it up that he used it before.
Sasano.
Yeah, I didn't even remember it. It's like, damn it! Oh man, I'm still mad about that.
Yeah, because I mean, this
Like,
arc
what?
just. Oh, go ahead, Francesco.
I was just saying, why one of your kids thrived and became the strongest in the universe, and the other died like a jabroni, basically.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's
Like,
just,
he got like 5 chapters, Raditz. So he got like 5 chapters and done forever. It's like Goku's
Maybe-
brother.
oh my god, this would be amazing if maybe he has another son somewhere in the universe who became a very successful businessman or something like that. or a lawyer. Or a
I've never
doctor,
fought in my
and,
life, but I can balance a checkbook like nobody's business.
and Raditz was not
Go on.
actually Bardak's son. It was adopted or whatever. So that would be the best.
Yeah, I think that's actually a theory we had when that chapter came out. Where like, what if there was like another sibling we didn't know about, and that could be a whole interesting arc there. But
And it's Frieza.
yeah, against Frieza.
No, I think not the missing sibling is actually Frieza.
Oh, it is Frieza. Oh boy,
That would
For
be
some
pretty wild.
time traveling shenanigans.
oh, that'd be some timey-wimey stuff there, man.
Yeah, exactly.
Bring on Kariza. It's time.
Yeah.
Well, guys, any other thoughts on Dragon Ball Super before we move into plugs and recommendations?
Nope.
Yeah, no, I think we're good. I think we're all in agreement. I mean, I'm not going to speak for anyone else, but I'm really excited for the next one, and I really hope that they kind of do get into the other universes and kind of go from there. It seems like we're tapping out on the power scale here in this universe. I want to see the ones who weren't involved in the Tournament of Power because they were too powerful, and how they compare to Black Frieza, who can one-shot basically 2 gods.
Yeah.
So
and
let's
to
see.
like establish that Gas was more powerful than they were, and the most powerful creature in the universe, and yeah, he just punched him through the freaking chest. So
Yep.
yeah, well, excited to see where they go from here. I'm really hoping we get, everything that we just talked about, or at least another like Moro kind of arc where they're like, oh, there's this dark demon lord that we need to deal with. There's the whole, don't we have a whole demon universe that they've mentioned a couple times that we've never really visited? There's of course the mortals versus the gods thing that we feel like it's all leading up to, and yeah, we just got so much. Or maybe we'll just get a whole arc on how Beerus needs to figure out how to make ramen. Who knows with this series?
And just freaks out when he eats it. Oh my god, it's the best thing I've ever had.
I don't need Earth anymore because I've mastered this. Now I'm going to destroy you guys unless you can hold your own.
That would be unironically hilarious and awesome if that was a full story arc where Beerus is going to destroy the Earth because he doesn't need it to cook anymore.
I do gotta say though, going off of your earlier discussion about how there isn't like that tension anymore, I did feel that tension when Beerus, he was still like he could destroy the world just because he didn't have enough food. Like I remember being freaked out over that.
That was
there's nothing we can do. He's a freaking god. Like that's it. If he doesn't like this platter, I guess we're dead. I mean,
yeah. It's that feeling of helplessness that really gets you, and that's what I was talking about with Vegeta on Planet Namek. Where there's just Krillin and Gohan alone, and it's just completely helpless. And that's exactly, Steven. That's exactly right.
That and the Sabermen, like I kind of want to just reread it because of that. Because I remember during the Saiyan saga, like they freaked the hell out of me just because like Nappa was this massive Saiyan guy, and they couldn't even defeat these little green creatures. It was like, well, if they defeat all the green creatures, I mean, now they have to deal with this Nappa guy who's just like laughing at them. Like I remember being freaked out over that. But
I will say, I did just read that it was really only Yamcha who couldn't beat the Sabermen, and that's why any article I start with when I'm writing about Yamcha, I usually always start with Yamcha is perhaps the greatest disappointment in all of Dragon Ball history. I take the fact that Yamcha sucks personally. Because as a kid, he looked really cool. He had facial scars. He had like longer hair. He was like original. He was with Goku. He was a little bit older than Goku.
You need Wolf Fang Fist too. That attack was badass.
Yeah, no, everything about Yamcha was awesome, and then he just sucked. And now I completely hate him because he totally he was like my favorite character when those were airing, and then he gets taken out by a Cyberman. And then from that point on, he is nothing. But yeah, I mean, Krillin is able to destroy the Cybermen with a single shot. Tien takes out the first Cyberman with a fairly easily. But it's just Yamcha.
Oh, well, I mean, I wouldn't say Yamcha's nothing now. Yamcha is just like the big joke of the series. Like,
he totally is.
One of my good buddies came over and hang out, and he was just like, "Did you ever watch like the filler episodes of Super?" And I was like, "You know what? I think I may have missed it." And there's a baseball episode.
Baseball episode,
yeah, dude.
And at the end, Yamcha wins it for everybody, but not without them actually showing him like in a crater in the same position he was when he died against the Cybermen. And I hadn't heard about that. I hadn't seen that, and I lost it. I was laughing the hardest I'd been when I'd watched anime in a long time. It's just become a running gag at this point that even the writers are just like, yeah, we know. And we're going to go ahead and throw a little reference into this baseball episode. But I hit bingo, guys. We brought up the baseball episode. So let's go ahead and end the podcast here.
No, we should end with spanking Jiren.
Yeah, that might be the tweet to advertise this podcast.
Will Frieza spank Jiren? Find out next time on Dragon Ball Super.
I eventually need to start commissioning art for thumbnails for these, and I need the best artist to give us a rendition of Black Frieza spanking Jiren. Oh boy. Well, guys, we'll go ahead and move into some plugs and recommendations. please check out other Mega Manga Monday episodes. Follow us on Twitter for updates, let you know when episodes are coming out and what series we're going to be talking about. But follow us on Twitter at MMangaMondays. You can listen to us on Spotify and YouTube. I am Jason Hahn, writer for Screen Rant. I also have a YouTube channel called Honzy and Friends. I like to stream on Wednesdays and Sundays. Just finished the main story for the newest God of War on my last stream, and oh boy, that game has an ending. I feel like that whole game is really just teasing the new one coming out, Ragnarok. So very excited.
Did you see the thing on the wall, the tapestry on the wall? Yeah, I like. Oh man, that just because it just opens up the whole universe.
Yeah,
I'm very excited. Yeah,
I'm very curious how they play with that dynamic. But yeah, they have you do like big epic fight, and then you finally get to the place you've been working at the entire time, and then they reveal huge story implications, and credits start rolling, and it's so dramatic and good. Go watch it. Honzy and Friends God of War stream. Also check out ScreenRant.com. I write a lot of video game news there, and my buddies here write in the comics section some awesome stuff. So definitely check that out as well. Spencer, any plugs or recommendations, man?
Yeah, for sure. So, right now I'm kind of doing an unofficial kind of series on Screen Rant where I'm just going back to the earliest chapters of Dragon Ball and I'm reading through it and I'm pulling out some pretty wacky stuff. Some of the things are kind of like, the topics are like, yeah, that's cool. The other ones are like, what are you talking about, man? But either way, I'm having a lot of fun. So yeah, check it out. I'm pumping those out pretty regularly. So Spencer Connolly, ScreenRant.com. You can follow me on Twitter. I'm not super active on Twitter, but I check it every once in a while. It's the Spencerverse. But yeah, check it out. Read some Dragon Ball.
Oh, absolutely. Francesco, how about you, man?
Oh, actually, I have started reading a new manga yesterday. It's new on Manga Plus. I'm not sure if it's the new Shonen Jump manga or whatever, because I've heard that a bunch of manga were cancelled, and so maybe this is one of the manga that came in as a replacement. I'm looking for the title right now.
Oh, okay.
Obviously, I don't find it anymore. Skeleton something like Steven.
Oh yeah. Skeleton Double. Yeah. I started reading that too. Oh, what did you think?
It was very interesting. Like the first chapter was intriguing, I want to say.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
All right.
So let's check this out, guys. It seems quite interesting. And besides that, not much. Just keep following us on Screen Rant, and always a lot of interesting articles coming out every day for all your comic needs. So check out the website.
Yeah, absolutely. And all these plugs and recommendations, I'm going to have their details in the description. So go ahead and check that out. And I'll go ahead and put the author of that new manga in there too. But Carlyle, how about you, man?
For my plug, I guess, just Elven Revenue Service demo still out there. It's my visual novel. I'm probably going to put development on hiatus until after my wedding, because that's only like 45 days away at this point.
Oh my god.
Hell yeah,
So,
congrats, man.
I got to set that
Congrats.
aside, but you can always check out the demo, and I'm going to try to keep writing for it whenever I can.
Hell yeah. Follow get updates on Elven Revenue Service on that Twitter account. I've liked everything I've seen on that. It's a pretty great idea for a visual novel, so definitely check that out if you're into visual novels. And Steven.
Yeah, so looks like I'm going to be interviewing another anime director some point this week. It's for an upcoming anime movie called Drifting Home. So that should be fun, talking to them. And I guess it's next week. But yeah, look out for that. That should be fun. And other than that, I'm still really enjoying Make the Exorcist Fall in Love on Manga Plus or Shonen Jump Plus. I think it's becoming one of my favorite manga right now, ongoing manga. Well, new ones. And also, Undead Unluck, it's official, it's getting an anime! Woohoo!
Yeah, that's actually caused me to start reading it more. I'm about 10 chapters in, and I'm enjoying it a lot. Compared to, like, I actually was talking to, I think, Ben about this, another Mega Manga Monday guy, and comparing it to, like, Black Clover, which I'm also caught up on. Black Clover seems like the amalgamation of, like, 6 different mangas combined. It just seems like
Oh my god.
He's consistent.
You just made a big mistake.
Well, I feel like Black Clover's like the author of it is a fan of a lot of other ones that we've all grown up with. So there's like so many times where you're reading it and you're like, this feels a lot like Naruto. This feels a lot like this or that.
My fiance likes to describe it as the mangaka for Black Clover just watched Naruto and said, I could do that, and then did that with European setting instead of a Japanese setting.
Yeah, I could see that. And comparing it to like Undead Unluck, like while I'm reading Undead Unluck, it just feels like a lot more unique. Like it just feels like it's telling its own story. It's got its own very interesting power dynamics, and it just feels like something on its own. Like and that's at least when I'm reading them both side to side. That's my interpretation of those right now, and they're both enjoyable. But yeah, I'm really getting into Undead Unluck right now.
Yeah, I'm really glad it's getting an anime for sure. It's such a great story. So many absurd twists that are really amazing that are coming down the road. So it's good stuff.
All right, hell yeah. Well, it sounds like we could talk discourse on Undead Unluck and Black Clover for a while, but I'll go ahead and end things here. Thanks for listening on Mega Manga Monday, and also thank you guys for your time and your opinions. It's a lot more. Dragon Ball Super is a lot more fun when I get to talk about it with buddies. So thanks for your time today, guys, and I look forward to the next one.
Oh yeah,
Bye,
thank you.
everyone.
See ya.
Clover's the best.
Yeah.
Peace.